Good morning. It's a couple of days after the Passover holiday, and it's time to communicate. Some of my critics have been going over my videos, and they've decided to rake me over the coals over some of the things that I've talked about. So let's go through some of them at least. One of the things is my disbelief in macroevolution. And one of the fascinating things about doing these videos is that you get a lot of information from people that are really sincere and genuine, and I appreciate the critics. I do appreciate them, and when you say something that's true, I appreciate it. But I have the option of taking the information that you give me and evaluating whether the information is convincing or not. One of the things that they've told me is that there is a certain, they call it an ERV. I'm not sure exactly what it stands for, but it's essentially the remnant of a virus that affects the gene of a human being as well as that of a chimpanzee, and they're supposed to be, that particular part of the gene is exact, and that would indicate, according to the evolutionists, a common ancestor. The problem with that is that the guinea pig has almost an exact copy of that same ERV in that part of the gene. It's not completely, but it's close enough to also indicate that the guinea pig has a common ancestor, and we know that's not true. And so, for truth's sake, we have to say the following. I saw an article written by a doctor specifically on this particular point, that this by itself is no proof of common origination. This would indicate that this particular virus has a particular proclivity for that particular part of the gene, as you see from the guinea pig. And the very fact that some things have similar structures in a particular part of the gene is by itself not an absolute proof of common ancestry, or else you're going to have to say that the chimp and the guinea pig are also related. But that's not the case. The fact that there are interesting parallels in the genetic structure does not by itself indicate that things have developed exactly the same from a common place and are just separated by various components of evolution. Another point that you really have to understand from all of this is the concept of a designer. The neo-Darwinists, Darwin's beliefs of random mutations would indicate that there's no rhyme or reason or order to all of this. The very fact that there exists a DNA, which is a wisdom, an intelligence that has things set up in a certain way, that tells the machinery to set up in a certain way, really is not in concert with evolution. Evolution is better served by saying that things are in a flux and there's nothing set in stone, that there would be things like genetics, and that the genetics have an instruction manual, if you will, that this is what's going to happen. That doesn't bode well for Darwin's evolutionary theory. If things evolved by themselves only through random selection and then cosmic ray bombardments, and you change, there was no knowledge of this part of the structure, of the instructions for the structure prior to the 1950s. Now, this is not part of Darwin's theory of evolution. In fact, according to the researchers, evolution is actually impeded by their suggestions of constant changes and things being willy-nilly, just being, just happening without structure, that they actually impeded research in this process of finding out the secrets that lie in the structure of the DNA molecules. So, just to encapsulate, the very fact that there are similarities does not prove that man and the chimpanzee came from a common source. Rather, it shows that there are certain things that attack or have a connection with that particular gene. And I've had this discussion with someone on the internet, and he claims that no, it's impossible. There are scientists who disagree with you. And so the very fact that certain parallels can be drawn between man and monkeys does not make monkeys out of men, nor does it say that they're really related. It could be that the intelligent designer decided to make certain frames, and from those frames different things were created, and man is created altogether different with some of the basic elements of other things. But concluding that man came from the apes is not in the cards for you, my friend.